Airways and served for many years on the Cayman Islands Cooperation and the Air Transport Licensing Authority. He was a Justice of the Peace, law agent, notary public, church elder, Sunday school teacher, and civic leader. He married Myrtle Ebanks in 1924, and the couple raised 4 children.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dan. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks very much for joining us. Another Wednesday that we get to start off a wonderful discussion with our friends from JASMINE. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you very much for joining us as we invite you to be a part of the discussion. On a Wednesday when you have wonderful company like we do, that we can look at it and be exceptionally brilliant and bright as we welcome our friends from JASMINE. Ms. Ansel, good afternoon.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Hey, I looked in the mirror and the mirror smiled back at me.
All right, that's something.
It didn't crack. It was all good. I got a brisk walk on probably one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. I got to see a lot. It's a good place.
Yeah.
It's a good space.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for bringing on Danny and Sophie. And through you, Mom, good afternoon.
Hello. Yes, I've got a couple of my faves in the studio with me today. We have Danny Coleman, who is JASMINE's chair, and Dr. Natalie Sharp is our palliative care physician. She is on her way. She's just been seeing a patient. And our special guest, Sophie, who is my trainee.
Hi. Well, hello, Miss Sophie. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
He's going to put you on the spot now.
I know. No, he's not going to do that. I mean, unless you have... Nah. But you'll find your way into our conversation. Yeah. Trust me. And you're in great hands if you have the excellent company of Danny. Miss Ansley. So it's interesting. I'm looking at today and appreciating and understanding that for some of us, it's a joy. There's not only nor a care nor a concern. Everything is perfect. But then there are times when we have to sort of make it because there's so much transpiring. And it isn't that we don't feel the pain, we don't have the trials and tribulations, the challenges and the suffering, but life is to be lived. And Danny, you live it to the fullest, huh?
I love living life to the fullest. I'm a massive believer in positivity. It's funny because I remember when I first joined Jasmine as a staff member. Now obviously I'm on the board, but staff member. And so many people would say, that must be a really depressing place to work. And I'm like, absolutely not. It's one of the most beautiful, inspiring places I think I've ever worked at. And again, that's why I think we continue to be involved in it as volunteers, because it's just a really, really very, very special service. Yeah,
one of our guests yesterday, Mario D. Rankin, commended, the care, the commitment, the compassion, the idea that, we will traverse this road, all of us. And if we are fortunate enough, we'll be able to do it with a sense of grace and elegance, with our loved ones near, and knowing that as loved ones, this one is going to be cared for. And that's not something that everybody has.
No, absolutely not. And I think we touched on this last time I was here with you about a month ago. And Dr. Sharp can speak to this a little bit more fully, but the World Health Organization has said hospice and palliative care is a human right. However, Cayman is one of the only countries in the Caribbean that has hospice and palliative care as readily available, certainly for free, and it will, very much make sure that we come to your home, high quality care, and doing a lot of education around palliative care and what that means for people. I think a lot of people, and you'll see it in Hollywood movies where someone's, reached the end of treatment and the doctor says, Mr. Smith, I think it's time for palliative care. And that to us is like, no. The palliative care should have been the whole time, making sure that you're treating the whole person, not just the disease, and taking care of their emotional health, their mental health, easing suffering in any way you can for a person living with a chronic end of life or incurable illness. That is palliative care. So we want to make sure that that's available to our community.
I think Ansley's got a great point. I mean, the definition of palliative care, or palliative, is to make a disease or its symptoms less severe or unpleasant without removing the cause. We're not here to remove the cause. Obviously, that's not what we're here for. But there's so much we can do with dignity with our holistic services, amongst other things as well. And we have some brilliant holistic services at Jasmine. We have, Reiki, we have massage, animal therapy, music therapy, acupuncture, all these brilliant things that can really help lessen the pain, and also for quality of life. I mean, it's just so important to be looking at the whole person. And of course, this journey that we go on with the patient is very much patient-driven. We're here to, what do they want? Because everyone's lives are very, very different, and then everyone sees that period of time very differently. So we make sure we tailor everything we do for the person involved.
And some of those, sorry, Ms. Ansley, go right ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's even because I know Cayman is very family oriented, so it's not just the patient. Even a lot of times the families are struggling with the idea that the person that they love has this illness, and so palliative care also tends to the whole family unit and the support networks, and making sure that people at least have access to the information that they need, and that's a lot of what Jasmine does as well.
I think, again, I can talk from a personal perspective, both with family members who've been through Jasmine, my father-in-law particularly, and my granny. But my father-in-law, again, it was very much the whole family were involved in this. And it's a physical, emotional, psychological, the whole package that you get with Jasmine. And again, I think that's probably why most of us get involved with hospice and palliative care. It's because we probably experienced it firsthand. And it's amazing to see that the nurses and most of the staff there are still the ones that cared for family members 12, 15 years ago. And it's just, the sustainability of Jasmine itself, for staff-wise, it's been a brilliant journey. But I really did, I think, when we first-hand experienced, when the Jasmine nurses came in hospice care back then, were coming to our door, I remember being petrified, thinking, oh my God, these women are going to come in and they're going to be all dressed up in dark clothes, and it's all going to be very depressing.
Death, huh?
angels of death. I had this vision. I look back and laugh now because it was such a different experience. When the girls walked in, they became part of the family within about 5 seconds, and they still are very, very good friends now, obviously. But it's just such a pleasure to work with them. And, you know, one of the things at Jasmine, we always wear bright clothes because we do think that obviously wearing black or grey is quite a depressing colour when you're in that kind of environment. But it's not just the clothes we wear, it's also the demeanours, the positivity, and again, how we help families, I think is just makes the charity such an incredible asset to the Cayman Islands.
You have a question, I could see it on your face.
Burning. Not just a question answer, it's a burning question.
Would you want to answer my question? Questions, you know. They say if they wants to seek knowledge, one must ask questions.
Mm-hmm. We love that. Ask away.
Ask away. No, I'll pivot in a second. But as I listen to what you're sharing, I'm recognizing it's not just about semantics or euphemisms. It's not just about flipping the script as we see. Perhaps what is the ethos within Jasmine and Cayman may not necessarily be the experiences of the places, and to see the take up by the wider community, not at the end of life, but throughout the journey, not only for the terminal diagnosis, but for that thing that has weighed so heavily in the family that they need a bit of respite, they need a little bit of reassurance, assistance.
Yep.
And for me, that's been the part, as Danny was sharing, the things that you spoke of, those are things many of us, you know, whether it's meditation and yoga, whether it's some sort of physical therapy, or whether it is, you know, mental wellness, we subscribe to that either A, because we have the resources, or we've been fortunate enough to be informed, hey, this is good for your quality of life.
Right.
And I like that approach that is throughout the journey. And maybe in the Cayman narrative, we can have that model copied in other places, because if it is a human right, I mean, they're fast disappearing. Speech is gone, assembly is gone, you know, freedom of choice is gone, democracy is gone. Maybe at least a bit of love during life maybe exist. Who knows, huh?
I don't have that. I don't think I have the expertise to comment on all of that. However,
answering that one.
I can say that Jasmine is in a incredibly unique position to provide an incredible level of care for anyone in the community who needs it for free. Doesn't matter what the diagnosis is. I think sometimes people assume, oh, that's only for cancer patients. We will, any major life-limiting diagnosis that is affecting your life, and really making you sick and struggling with your day-to-day activities, you know, it doesn't have to just be cancer. It's also about making sure that our community is well cared for. One of the things that I've loved about working with Jasmine is seeing all different walks of life use the services, all different walks of life support the organization, all different walks of life want to get involved in some way, shape, or form. It is truly, it's completely a community organization built by the people of this country and in this community.
I think Anzi's got a great point there. At the end of the day, I mean, a lot of people used to think, oh, you look after older people. Like, it's not at all. We have our patients of all ages, from babies to much, much older. We also, as Anzi says, deal with all sorts of diseases: cancer, HIV, AIDS, pulmonary illnesses, diseases, chronic heart failure,
Alzheimer's, dementia, renal failure, all of it.
We're here for the whole thing. So I think it's, again, making sure that the public are aware that we are here to help. And I think one of the flaws we've had in the past, and that's why we're focusing so much on palliative care now, with our new doctor and so forth, is that there's so much we can be doing leading up to it. So whilst hospice care obviously is end of life terminal care, palliative care, there's so much we can be doing to make people more comfortable and to make sure they're enjoying that time with their families. And going back to the respite, I mean, anyone who's ever experienced a loved one dying of a terminal illness will know that it's absolutely exhausting if you're doing it by yourself. I say by yourself, as in even with your family. It becomes the entire thing. So trying to get getting that assistance from Jasmine. So we're doing the heavy loading work with the actual, the medications, the bathing and so forth. And you can spend time, especially during the last few weeks, with your family member doing what family members do for each other and just love and care for each other, as opposed to having to be the nurse as well as the family member, is what makes us so unique.
Yeah. Well, when we come back, we'll continue the discussion. Dr. Sharp is here, and she'll join us momentarily. And we invite you to be a part of our discussion. Stay tuned.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips for all occasions and celebrations. Let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Why, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
Are you tired of waiting in long lines at the pharmacy just to fill a prescription?
If what? Child, let me tell you.
Well, now you can save time and money with ValueMed's online prescription service. Visit ValueMed's new website, valrx.com, and click the Refill Subscriptions button. Fill in your information and choose your preferred pickup location. Or email your prescription refills for ValueMed Walkers Road at rx-wr@valrx.com, and for ValueMed in Boddentown, email rx-bt at valrx.com. Say goodbye to the hassle of waiting in lines and hello to the convenience of online prescriptions with ValueMed Pharmacy. Visit valrx.com to place your orders today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us, and thanks to the excellent team at Jasmine for being a part of our discussion. Danny Coleman wears many hats, and I'm glad that she does so ably, so thank you.
This is definitely one of my favourite hats. I say one of my favourite hats because otherwise I might get fired later on today, but I do love Jasmine.
Yeah, and it's easy to see why we can love it. And it's not just the professionalism, it's the compassion, I think, more. That whole perspective of appreciating that this is not easy for anybody.
No, this is a very any reason you will have to involve Jasmine will not necessarily be a happy one. Yeah. It'll be one where you're probably a little bit heartbroken or at least facing a challenging time. So it's very important to, as you say, the Jasmine ethos, that we are compassionate and happy and friendly and warm and exude the Cayman kind that we all talk about and try to live by. And so it's a very cool organization to be a part of, because it is so focused on understanding where the people that need us are coming from. We've just had Dr. Sharp come in. She is Jasmine's palliative care physician, so I wanted to welcome her as well.
Welcome, Dr. Sharp.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I know you've been in our studio a couple of times, and you know, as we were speaking, the idea that there are times when humility and humanity play into our lives, and sometimes we see people do something, but it's not genuine. You can tell, you know, a child will know, but sometimes the more discerning spirit. How do we get to a space where, as we look at things that are terminal, and there's a finality to much, but you do so that it brings joy as you face, you know, sort of the final countdown, as it were?
Yeah. I think, as you said, you know, some things are inevitable, whether it's sooner or later, some things are inevitable, and we only really have one chance to do it properly, you know? And so I think that's part of what we want to do at Jasmine. If that is a service that we're providing to you, if it's end-of-life care for a relative or a friend, we want to just help you do it with dignity and do it with comfort and the best quality possible at that point in time. And I think it's important for us as the clinical team, you know, helping that patient, we kind of just have to put aside and help the caregivers and the family put aside what they would want at that time or, you know, what we would want or what we think should be done, and just kind of focus on what the patient wants and what is important to them at this time.
I think some of us draw strength from our faith. Some of us can, you know, be girded by our family, but others would succumb to the physician's diagnosis. Sorry, Mr. Jack, you've only got 3 weeks. and there's that morbidity, there's that sense. But how do you get the people to appreciate that as you embrace this thing, that fear that may paralyze many could maybe bring the family closer to forgiveness?
And I think that that's why involving palliative care earlier is helpful in that respect, because it's hard coming in, you know, right at the end, and then, you know, you kind of have to accept all these things and do all these things and make all these decisions. Whereas, you know, earlier in the journey, you know, earlier in the disease, we can kind of, you know, meet with the family, meet with the patient, you know, just talk things through, you know, kind of talk about what maybe you would want, you know, just kind of prepare earlier, you know, for what will eventually happen. And I think, you know, the more time you have to come to terms with it, the easier it is to do that.
Miss Sophie, only if you wish. The invitation is there, you know. I can see thoughts ruminating through. For the ordinary person, we sometimes want to face these things unavoidably, and only if, you know, someone else can't do it for us. But for those who are either young or young at heart, as we look down the road with the changes and challenges that societies have faced, the level of uncertainty, what would you say beyond, you know, what our jobs are and our positions and titles? What do you say to that sense of love, care, compassion, that we live life now, but we understand that if we're lucky, we'll walk this path with people who love?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you never know, you know, what's going to happen in your life, and I think that, like, Jasmine, since I've been here, it's been such a great community to be a part of it. It's just such a warm place. Everyone's happy, and I think that is so important, that Jasmine provides that sense of community no matter where you are in your life. You know, I might have a long time left, I might not, and even if it's not me, I've got family, you know, so I think that's really important, that we all have a place where we can go and depend on people and take some of the weight off at times.
And speaking of the place that we can take the weight off, we are happy to announce that Dr. Sharp is now doing clinic hours at Smith Road Medical Center?
Correct, yes.
Yes. What are those hours?
So I'm there on a Thursday morning to see patients who, you know, are living with these serious illnesses, but can, you know, are not bedridden. They still want to have their independence, but they just want to come and see somebody in a doctor's office who can help them with their symptoms or the issues that they're dealing with.
And that's by appointment only.
And that's by appointment only. So
it is.
If you contact us, we will book the appointment for you and let you know when you're going to come see me. Yes.
And how is that different? Thanks for that. I was going to ask you that, as Sophie was sharing. How is that different from what is offered at or through Jasmine?
So I think generally the public has a perception of, you know, palliative care and what we do as just, you know, end of life, you know, waiting till, you know, things are dire or, you know, things are extremely serious. And I think what what we're providing with this clinic is somebody who's living with a serious illness, somebody who, for example, newly diagnosed with cancer or newly diagnosed with kidney disease, should she start dialysis or not? Those are the kind of things that you can come in and, have a discussion with me about something serious that's going on, something you need help with, but you're not, at the end yet. And I think that that's what we want to focus on. That's what we're trying to enhance, that part of our program, for people to come in earlier, for us to help you and support you right from the beginning of your illness.
I think one of the things, again, is just trying to demystify a lot of what's happening in disease in general. And again, just to remind everyone, this is completely and utterly free of charge. So everything that Jasmine does is we fundraise for and obviously get a small government grant. So it's making sure that it's accessible to everyone who needs us, we're here for.
And it's not even a charge to insurance. It's just legitimately free. The thing that I like about having the clinic hours is it makes it seem less of a big deal.
Exactly.
Instead of, I have to have the doctor come to my house. Like, things have gotten dire. Nope, I'm gonna pop by the clinic. I've been receiving treatment. It's just not going as well as it did last time. I'm experiencing these symptoms a little bit more seriously than I did last time. Let me call Jasmine and just talk to their doctor. And we can create an appointment in Dr. Sharp's schedule for you to swing by, have a face-to-face discussion with the doctor, and there's no, $250 doctor's bill. There's no copay. It is an additional resource in your medical team while you are receiving treatment.
Right. And again, I think in this stage, we're working alongside your medical team. So, if you're coming to see, you don't have another doctor's visit for another month or so, but, there's something that is going on that you want to talk about, that you're not sure if it needs to be addressed or not, you can come see me and say, well, hey, doc, this is what's happening. I'm having some, these symptoms that are not getting better. Is it something that, needs to be dealt with now, and I will try and help, and I will do what I can. We will make some adjustments to your medications as needed, and I will also reach out to your doctor. We're working together, so the decisions are being made together. The plan for you is being made together along with your medical team in this setting.
I also think some people get a bit nervous coming into the Jasmine Villa itself. So this is, again, demystifying that. But I will say, again, anyone who has slight reservations coming near the villa, it is one of the most beautiful, peaceful, loving, kind places I think I've ever stepped foot in Cayman. So if you just want to come and visit it and just curious as to what the villa looks like and the administration side of things, we're very much, the doors are open for you to come and see that, and again, just get comfortable with who we are and what we represent and what we do.
Well, right now, so we're preparing for one of our fundraisers, which is an Alice in Wonderland themed dinner. So right now you might come into contact with like
and volunteer.
A playing card soldier or a wonky teacup. So but I think that speaks to like the joy and happy that is. So when you walk in the doors at the Jasmine Villa, it is this beautiful atrium with the Tansy Mackie was commissioned to do a sculpture for us that's up in the ceiling, and you just look out past the community room, which hosts our lunch club, and there's trees and the chickens and a cat that comes around, and the birds. Loads of parrots and agoutis are running around our property. It's really a magical space.
Magical.
It is, and we have such nice volunteers who are manning the front door, so you'll be greeted with a smile. Yes. Yeah.
Well, I know we have the break, and I think Miss Danny, your other hats call you, I believe.
Indeed, but thank you very much, Danny. Always a pleasure to be here, and again, just always a pleasure to be hanging out with these ladies, because they really are fabulous. I think the staff and the board actually, but the staff and the volunteers at Jasmine are just very, very committed to what we do, and we're very, very proud to be part of this. And just lovely working with these ladies as always. So thank you, Sterling, for inviting us, and thank you for the listeners for listening to us, or me, and then the rest of the guys the next half hour, whatever it's going to be. But thank you.
All right. Well, when we come back, we'll spend a couple of minutes more having a chat with maybe delve more into Dr. Sharp's intellect. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Are you kidding me?
Hey girl, what's wrong?
My eyeliner foundation just ran out and I have to leave Savannah in 15 minutes.
That's easy. Just stop at Savannah Pharmacy. That's where I get all of my makeup, and for a great price too.
Really?
Really, girl. Where are you going?
To Savannah Pharmacy, duh.
Wait, I'm coming too. Ran out of my favorite nail polish.
Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village provides you with more than just prescriptions. Savannah Pharmacy is just around the corner with everything you need and the hours you need it. Visit us today for fast, efficient, and professional service. We are here as a team to assist you while taking care of your health. Call us today at 946-3336.
Look at you, listening to the radio, tuning in, getting stuff done. Total doer. Maybe you're driving, maybe you're getting your oil changed, or grabbing some chicken. Maybe you're doing something that's nobody's business but yours. Hey, that's cool. We're all doing something. Now you can join a whole new community of doers doing more on findyellow.com. With custom search, local experts, and trusted reviews, whatever you're doing, get it done on findyellow.com.
For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM for Cayman's Straight Talk Morning Show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record. Brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and respiratory illnesses are among the top causes of death in Cayman every year. From June 3rd until July 31st, the Ministry of Health and Wellness will conduct the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey to better understand the prevalence of non-communicable diseases within our nation. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps to learn more.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks very much for joining us as we continue our discussion with our friends from Jasmine. Give us a shout if you have a question. Sandra, thanks to you, Dr. Sharp, and Sophie for joining us. Of course, if you were here earlier, Danny Coleman, she has left the building.
You always know when Danny leaves.
Yeah. It's like,
It's like, oh.
Yeah. But she left the winning spirit.
She did.
No, but I was very, glad that Dr. Sharp, you could join us for a bit. And the idea that sometimes when we understand the things that are happening, and we try to be strong for the other person, even as the person who has received the diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just the mental, the physical strength. There's a supporting cast that is around. Maybe through you, Ms. Ansley, some of the other things that we can avail ourselves of from Dr. Sharp.
Oh my gosh, this woman's a wealth of information. And so very specifically, when we got the grant to hire Cayman's first full-time dedicated palliative care physician, we were very excited, and we started thinking about, well, yes, this is great for Cayman's medical needs, but also what does a Jasmine patient need? And a Jasmine patient needs the warm spirit, the ability to change hats a little bit instead of we're just going to look at your medical needs and prescribe and but also the ability to listen to the patient and what the patient is saying. And we really believe we lucked out with Natalie. Sorry, Dr. Sharp.
Natalie's fine.
No, but that's not compassion, right? Because there's the professionalism and competence, but there's the commitment and compassion. And that,
it's bedside manner, and that is such an important facet to what Jasmine does. And it's almost, I would say, probably like 40-50% bedside manner,
Absolutely.
just taking care of the people. And so that's something that I think we were really looking for in hiring for Natalie.
Because, like you say, that part of palliative care training for anyone who's done any kind of training, physicians, nurses, anyone who's done specialist training, is communication. So, like, you'll spend days and days and days and, you know, months doing pain care, pain management, nausea management, but you also spend a significant amount of time doing communication skills, like more so than I ever learned in med school or in any of my other training. When I was doing palliative care, I learned a lot of communication skills and, you know, just, you know, tips and ways to communicate with patients better. So, and that's a big part of what we do at Jasmine.
It's not the formalities, as I hear you. It's the familiarity, the sense that your family, you're there. You want the trust of the person, but you also want, you know, the patient to appreciate that you're being loved and genuinely. And it's not an easy task nor a skill that many of us are adept, but perhaps even through volunteering, you might be able to appreciate a little bit of empathy. Could go a long way.
Absolutely. A couple of our nurses reached out to our volunteer coordinator this week to say, hey, I've got someone that I really think could benefit from acupuncture or Reiki or, you know, spa services, like just to make them feel like their life is normal and they're okay and they've got things under control, and just to kind of feel loved on a little bit, like somebody's got your back. Like that is almost enough of a break, just to feel like, okay, somebody's got me if anything goes wrong. Like that is so much, just takes the weight off of you.
Because we're not helping Mrs. Brown's heart failure, we're helping Mrs. Brown, full stop. Whatever she needs. She's not just a disease, it's not, you know, she's a person and her family and her needs and everything like that. That's who we're helping.
But Dr. Sharp, that's what I'm hearing you saying, that from this whole thing, even us who, you know, we've come to you in your regular practice, great clean bill of health, we're young, athletic, healthy, life is great. Having someone who has your back, that in itself is a blessing. But can you imagine that person who may have that independence of spirit, who is concerned that when they pass, what is the family going to face? To be, you know, reassured that, hey, you're still a person, things will still be okay, you will be missed and loved, but your contribution will always be appreciated. At that point, that's probably most invaluable. You know, forget about the pain medication and whatever the next physician appointment and prognosis will be. That love that you feeling then.
Yep, I like that you bring that up, because that brings up one of my pet projects called Advanced Directives, and it wasn't, you know, it wasn't a plan to talk about it, but you know, I think it's very important for everybody, no matter what age you are, to think about what you would want if you were to become.
So here's the thing. So when I started at Jasmine, somebody would say advanced directive to me, and I was like, I totally understand what you're saying, and I did not.
Fair enough. So it's advanced directives are really like your decisions or your orders for what you want to be done for you, you know, in the future. You know.
So this isn't a will. This is like, if I am in this situation, do this. If I'm in this situation, don't do this.
Okay. So there are, you know, pre-prepared booklets, and, you know, we even have one at Jasmine, you know, just pages and pages of, you know, if this were the situation, this is what I would want. I want, you know, I'm going to cross this out. I want check this, X this, you know, there's all that kind of things. There's even, it's who you want to make your decisions for you. It's, would you want a feeding tube, you know, would you want, what kind of music do you want, you know, in you know, in case that, you know, you're not awake anymore.
Plan a funeral.
Exactly. Yes. So, and I believe that everybody should, you know, think about these things, should write this down, because it's helpful when that time does come. It's helpful for your family. It's helpful for you to get what you want, and your family doesn't have to struggle. You know, if there are people who think different things, you know, it helps with the conflicts. So
and with, the idea that like, oh, there was no advance directive. We're not and nobody had a conversation.
Exactly.
We don't exactly know like if they would want to, like, say if they were you know, in a coma. At what point do we give a feeding tube or do we not give a feeding tube? What would they want? And to not have to guess, and to already have that written down is such a gift for your family, because then it's not the guilt of having to make that decision.
Exactly.
They know exactly what you would have
It's
wanted.
education and information, because even with the feeding tube, I want to ask, in case there are any who are unsure, or even as I gather, there's still some misconceptions. Once a feeding tube is administered,
So a feeding tube is in somebody who is not able to swallow properly or eat or drink properly. It's a tube that's either put in directly through the stomach or through the nose and goes down into the stomach, that allows for artificial feeding. So we usually use it as a bridge, in somebody who needs feeding to get to another point where they're going to, not need it again. We usually don't advocate it for a long term. And not just because somebody is dying and can't eat, we're not going to pass a feeding tube for that reason. It's best used in a situation where this person can't swallow for now, we are going to fix X problem, and then they'll be able to swallow again. The feeding tube is temporary. We don't advocate for permanent feeding tubes.
And all of these things, okay, well, here's this booklet, and would you want a feeding tube? Well, I don't know. What does that mean?
Things are described in the feeding tube.
And we also have our nurses and doctors that can speak to it as well.
Yeah. We do have one that was designed by our JASMINE team. We do have a booklet with all of these things and discussions about this. So if anybody's interested, you can always contact us to get a copy of it.
I appreciate this is where this education, because just recently, I mean, someone who otherwise would be considered a sensible person, not only through experience in the examination and the like, but was of the view, once a feeding tube is administered, it can only be removed once the person is passed.
Right.
Right? And then, is that the case?
That's not what they were made for.
Nope.
That was not the initial point, and that's that's not what they're made for. But
and it's as simple. I mean, it's like you talk about advanced directives. You don't know what it is until you know what it is.
Yep.
And if you're married, your spouse automatically becomes the person who's responsible
de
for you.
facto decision maker.
Unless you designate somebody else for whatever reason. But even if it's the best of relationships, at that time your judgment could be clouded, you could be overcome with emotion, you're conflicted, well, did they want this, want that? If you're
in a calm, measured conversation, to be able to say, this is what I really do want, it takes the pressure off. So, and these are the types of things where JASMINE can provide so much information and so many resources to at least point you in the right direction. Of course, everyone knows us as the hospice care providers, but we've spent a lot of time today, and will do continuously, talking about our palliative care, getting JASMINE's team at least aware that the patient is there and might be wanting help further down the line with their treatment course, talking about respite, talking about family support, talking about advanced directives, talking about bereavement programs. Like, if you really think about it, JASMINE does an awful lot with a really small team.
I think that's what the community, can look at, and take ownership and recognizing that it doesn't matter who you are, what it is, the idea that we're in this truly together.
Like, this organization only exists because this community made it so.
Yeah, man.
Like, incredible.
That is amazing. Well, if Ms. Sophie wants a quick word, we'll offer it. Not, we'll defer to the next time she arrives. Any thoughts, Mom, do you want to share?
No, I just think it's really interesting to listen to Dr. Natalie, and she's such a positive, very clear person. And, if you are intimidated or you just want information, JASMINE is such a great place to go for that. And you shouldn't feel afraid. It's a lovely, lovely place to be.
No, fair not. Dr. Schaub, any final points you want to share with our listeners?
I just want to say, that, again, to reiterate what Ansley said earlier, that it's just a group of nice people. When I first started working here, that was my first thought. I was like, everybody's so nice. This is such a positive place to be. And always willing to talk, always willing to answer questions. And I think, within the staff, that's what we find with each other. And I mean, that's what we provide to the public as well, too. Indeed. So, yeah.
And to you, Madam.
Oh my goodness, I always have plenty to say, you know that.
It's always good to listen.
Well, no, it's just one of these things that, and I think what I'm hoping people get from all of these conversations is that this community has cared for our own community in such a way to provide JASMINE. JASMINE we don't charge people, so we don't make money. we are supported by the community, that we are fundraising and fully funded by the generosity of people in Cayman. It is incredible that this such high quality care and such different ways for people who are experiencing one of the biggest challenges life can throw at you is free in Cayman, and I really hope everyone in Cayman is very proud to have Jasmine as a part of this community.
Well, thank you all very much, and Tani, thank you too. Looking forward to our conversation next month.
Sounds great. Thanks for having us.
Please enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. All right, let's pause and take a break, and when we come back, hey, share with us. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. 2 men, both age 31, of Cayman Brac were arrested yesterday, April 25th, on suspicion of burglary in relation to the 4 recent burglaries reported in Cayman Brac. The men remain in custody and are being transported to Grand Cayman today. In international news, Disney has accused Florida Governor Ron DeSantis of organizing a campaign of government retaliation and a lawsuit. The new legal action sharply escalates the battle between the entertainment giant and the Republican politician. The two sides have been fighting since the firm spoke out against a law banning discussions of sexual orientation or gender identity in primary schools last year. Officials are set to void a development deal involving the firm's theme park. Disney said Mr. DeSantis' effort to assert control over its operations had threatened its business and violated its constitutional rights. The oldest person to be convicted over crimes committed during the Holocaust has died at the age of 102. Joseph Schutz was found guilty last June of assisting in the murder of thousands of prisoners at Sachsenhausen near Berlin between 1942 and 1945. He was given a 5-year prison sentence but remained free while he awaited the outcome of an appeal to the Federal Court of Justice. He was found guilty of aiding and abetting the murders of 3,518 people. He was also complicit in the shooting of Soviet prisoners of war and the murder of others with Zyklon B gas. Tens of thousands of people died at Sachsenhausen during World War II from starvation, forced labor, medical experiments, and murder by the SS. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
When you have a sports or fitness-related injury, trust the expertise of the HSA Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic to get you back in the game. Our internationally trained and certified physicians specialize in sports traumatology, sports medicine, pain management, and orthopedic surgery. For treatment of common injuries such as tendonitis, arthritis, tennis elbow, rotator cuff, or knee tears, schedule a consultation with the Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic at Smith Road Medical Center by calling 949-8600 or visit hsa.ky for more information.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
Born in Watering Place, Cayman Brac, on the 8th day of July, 1936, Captain Fred Elman Scott was the 5th child born to Nalio and Vera Scott. Not only did Captain Scott work the seas for over 52 years, but he was mathematically inclined. In the early 70s, Captain Scott received his first calculator, eventually moving on to computers. After retiring from sea, Captain Scott used his knowledge of navigation, his love for mathematics, and general knowledge to write various computer programs that would impact the lives of the people of the Cayman Islands, such as payroll calculation and a program that could tell the depths at any point of the Georgetown Harbor, which would allow him to give any ship in port the coordinates to drop anchor. However, his pride and joy was his weather program that could detect when a storm formed anywhere in the world and was able to track and forecast its path. To create this program, he first drew the world map by using actual coordinates from the various coastlines around the world, including the most minute coves. This information will be transmitted by his shipping mates from around the world, making him the local reliable source on storm predictions.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully, you've been following the proceedings as the government delivers its strategic policy statement. Our sister station, 105.3, 105.3, isn't it, DJ Lynn? Breeze FM. And just in case you haven't had the opportunity to listen on Sundays extensively as you out on your boat or you chilling elsewhere, DJ Lynn does a fantastic production of reggae music on Sundays. At some point, maybe I can ask him if he'll allow me to put him on the spot as to why he wanted to do, what was the impetus for doing his reggae Sundays. So DJ Lynn, in a bit, I'll ask you about that. But in the meantime, it's going to be so open line. We want to hear from you. We want to hear you share your thoughts. They can be your concerns. They could be things that you're so excited about that you believe the country needs to embrace. I can share that at times it's a challenge when you see all the negativity, the vitriol that being spewed from the mouths of many who seem to be so imbued with power, position, and some level, at least in their minds, assume prestige. But humility before honor, we're told. Well, let's hear from you. You can chastise, you can nurture, you can show care, concern, and compassion, or you can just outright complain. Hey, we'll listen. 949-8037, 949-6990. Toll free with the kind compliments of flow, 1-800-534-8255. WhatsApp now also allows you to call and get on air. Hear from you directly through your WhatsApp call if you so choose. 925-3261. 925-3261 is our WhatsApp number. You can do with it as you normally do when you're interacting, with your usual circle. So voice note, send something over that has been typed up, whether it's text to speech or you got somebody to type it for you, or you can dial 925-3261. It'll ring, we'll answer it, and you'll be on air. Hey, life progresses sometimes. 949-6990 or 949-8037. So, had a interesting discussion with some individuals earlier, and the concerns were a few things. I made a couple of notes. I want to make sure I have them to hand. And the questions surrounded, where is Cayman now? Where potential is it heading? And is there a vision, a sense of direction? If so, who's driving it? And I ask some of the individuals, how much of what is being shared are you asking and or expecting for me to relay to our listeners at some point? And specifically, is this a case where, okay, you're backing water for somebody else? No. This is a case where the individuals shared, for many of us, we go back generations. For some of us, it's a few decades that we've been here. And, okay, in one instance, the children's formative school years were, overseas in another jurisdiction. For others, their children were schooled here, but for their tertiary studies, following matriculation here in the country. And then for one other, this is where they've been for a space, No really other attachments. Well, our phone lines are available as we go to the phones in a second. 949-6990, 949-8037. Toll free at 1-800-534-8255. We'll get to the WhatsApp caller in a second as well after we take this one. We can't take them both one time. All right, let's go to the phones. Welcome, good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Hello, good afternoon, Sterling. How are you doing?
Hey, good afternoon, man. How are you? And thanks again for keeping our company yesterday, for sharing as you did.
No, the pleasure is always mine. I give thanks that you invite me to come in and share open dialogue with you.
Always, man. And I commend you, the Honorable Tourism Minister, on as he called Mr. Art this morning.
Yeah.
He complimented and sort of commended your comments as well.
Yeah, and I heard you touch on something very similar just now in regards to who's in charge, who we're developing for, and all these different things.
Right.
And on as I did on that show, I would like to mention on your show is that the writing is on the wall. It's always been on the wall for a very long time. The reality is that most people don't have the time to stop and pay attention because they're too busy hustling, trying to keep a roof over their head and food on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it kind of passes us by, most of us. And what I've come to realize, and a lot of people are starting to realize these things too, especially when you have conversations like this and platforms like yours and Mr. Connor's, where we have open dialogue and talk about it. We look at the development in the Cayman Islands right now, okay? And regardless of where it is, and you look at the price points of these condos, houses, or apartments, or whatever it is they're building,
mm-hmm.
everything is priced at a point where the average person can't afford it. So if we are saying that we're developing Cayman for the Cayman brand, then we have to first determine what the Cayman brand is or who the Caymanians are. That's number one. I mean,
mm-hmm.
certainly I know for sure nobody that grew up in the neighborhood I grew up in, including myself, can't afford no $1 million 2-bedroom condo. Right? Now, when we then we look at the PR system, the work permit system. Something was revealed this morning. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't double check the numbers, but Dr. Maxfield had alluded to the fact that there are around 38,000 work permits now that currently exist.
Mm-hmm.
And if the consensus or if the census that was done last year or year before was right with the approximately 72,000 population, then we have more than half of our population on work permits. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The reality is that what is the structure of that permit system? We know that the rollover policy was to give every person on a work permit a stop pause so that they didn't accumulate the other section of the law that gave them the right to apply for status or permanent residency, which was the 10 years,
mm-hmm.
right? So I believe the rollover policy was specifically designed to have that break in between, right? Now, we don't know whether it worked or is it working or was it effective or whatever the case is. But what I'm really trying to size up to say here is that when we look at the PR system and we look at the largest points gatherer on that system, it's buying property, right? So
mm-hmm.
when you look at that and you look at the demographics of people and you look at the work and the job in the labor force, it's the persons that are working in the executive arm of our workforce, the financial service industry and other banking and all, and tours and ownership and those things. Those are the people that can realistically buy property, so that when they do apply for the PR, that they can get the enough points in order to be considered, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a very unfair system because Mr. Connor, who used to be the chief immigration officer, right? He made a very valid point this morning on his show. And I can tell you, saying that the system should be across the board fair, everybody should have the same ability. Like there shouldn't be anything that will categorize someone above someone else. Because putting a point system in place that say purchasing or investing in land or property in the Cayman Islands, I mean, how many people who come here on a work permit to go and work as a gardener or a laborer or a construction site or a helper, or these lower end jobs, stocking shelves or cashier, how many of them are going to be able to purchase property in Cayman in 7 years during the rollover policy? How many people?
And this is the thing. I mean, to what extent the purchasing, as you said, of property, or even the financial wherewithal, in a sense, in terms of their employment, would contribute. But as you were speaking, someone messaged to ask the question: do we need to consider a person from the financial perspective relative to when they age and retire? To what extent that person now could become dependent on the state for their. So how do we balance that?
Well, I think we need to have immigration reform. I think Mr. Bryant alluded to the fact that he is in favor of having immigration reform so that we can have a better, clearer picture as to what it is or how it is we plan to roll out our red carpet to allow people to become a part of the Caymanian fabric. You know, the fact that we haven't even figured out how to identify ourselves as Caymanians yet because of some ridiculous law that was passed a few years back. But yet there is clear English and clear language for a person to travel down the PR path, meaning, okay, here are the list of the requirements, here are the list of the things that get you points. You can set out to embark on those things if you have the financial capability and the time and resources in order to provide. Now, I think that there needs to be a moratorium on PRs and statuses in the Cayman Islands, simply because we haven't been able to digest culturally the already influx of individuals who come here and impact our very environment and our system and our people and our way of life. And that's not to say that we're anti anything, because clearly we're not anti. You know, just look at our legislation for all of the pathways to become a Caymanian. We're not anti, clearly, and we need to strongly look at on how we structure all of our policies moving forward, and how to change and reform some policies that are creating all of these issues. So we're creating a society where only the elite can afford to buy in it, and only the elite can afford or have the eligibility to be considered to be a permanent resident or a status holder. Because average person not going to be able to meet that point system to even be considered.
But here's the interesting thing as you spoke, right? And again, this was just sort of informal conversations, and the perception that I gather is that there are some out there who believe that you have to have property in order to acquire sufficient points, and then there are a few who have shared, and I've heard this from people otherwise in that same sector or category that you referenced. Oh, that's not the case. You know, the property does add, but it's not necessary. It's just being pushed by the real estate sector. The reason why I mention that is that to what extent that it's a definitive, well-known sort of process, and as you shared, the criteria is across the board. What is good for one is good for all. There is no inherent discrimination.
Well, then, if buying property was not a critical factor in the point system or in the system of getting permanent residency, how come it's the largest point gatherer?
Yeah, but there you go, right? And
so nobody can rip us off with the story saying that's not the case. That is exactly the case. The problem is that when we talked about having PR requirement reform just the other day, every lawyer and their grandmother and sister is objected to it and say, oh, it's unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional for us to try to identify who we are before we allow anybody else to become who we are. Yeah. I mean, who in the world comes up with this stuff?
But what's interesting, though, sometimes when you listen to people either who have PR or who have now gained a Caymanian status, who are not, I say ancestrally from here, I shouldn't say you. I'll say it from the personal perspective. What I've garnered is that when these people feel that they can trust and they can confide, that they'll share a perspective that as a country we're not being mindful as to the impact. Now, when these people say something dissimilarly in a public setting, allegedly they are castigated by their own or others who would say, well, okay, you've got your sort of security tenure, you're trying to deny others. I wonder if the recognition that we're doing ourselves a great disservice going forward by ignoring, as you shared, the need to put in place a proper system that is fair across the board for all.
Right. Well, if we're going to have any consideration of anybody having permanent residency or anybody having status, certainly it has to be a fair, above-board, transparent system that, that evaluates the applicants, right?
Yeah. Something.
So,
okay, go ahead. Sorry. No. If I may, if you're okay, I wanted to ask, and not just to you, but maybe through you and just generally, Mr. Bryan, when he called today, he kept referencing our international obligations. We've heard that a lot over the decades. We've also heard that if we don't do it, the UK will do it, and with this. And then at some point, we were told that this was an internal affair, and we could, we could address it. We even had politicians share that maybe we could get certain categories of workers to agree. You can stay there for as long as you want, but it doesn't qualify you for status. Now that can, as was alleged, for the what was they called, the domestics and the like, if that could be applied to them, could it not also be applied to the doctor, the lawyer, the bank manager, the other high income earner? And it's just, I'm just wondering. But
the thing is, the thing is that we have created a system that divides the workforce, the labor force.
Right.
We've created a system that divides them, but we don't want to come out to admit that it divides them and that it identifies the lower income bracket people being at a disadvantage to get PR based on the point system.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's not whether or not we've created a system that creates that has created a difference. We have a system that has created a difference.
There's a division, and I mean, we had it at one point. I'm hopeful it's removed. I'm told it is. Age was a factor that people discriminated against. There were even, nationality and the like, I'm told. But in saying that, do we know what our international obligations are?
You see, yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, my friend.
I was saying is that, you see, what we've allowed to happen, we've allowed people who come here and work permits, and not all, I'm not saying all. I'm not painting everybody with the same stroke of the brush.
Right.
I'm saying is that what we've allowed with the work permit system is we allow people who come here and get a permit to feel as if they're doing us a favor, not realizing that it is a privilege.
Yeah.
It is a privilege for you to come here and attain a work permit in order to work and live in our environment amongst our people. And that's where we've made a grave mistake. We've made them feel entitled, or we're doing, and we've heard the phrase, we're doing the jobs that the Caymanians don't want to do. No, we're doing the jobs, you guys are doing the job that there are not enough Caymanians to take. The problem is that we don't have the harvest to take every job. So yes, we need work permit holders to come to our island to work here and be a part of the economic growth and success. The reality is that we're on that work permit form that it says, you're eligible to work here under the given times and conditions. Your gainful occupation is from point A to point B. And by the way, you can also apply to stay here forever.
Yeah. But I question, at one point and I have not done this, so I can't tell you. I looked at the form at any time recently, but in the form it was very clear. This, does not, grant you any right to apply for status or whatever it's called. This is just a work permit, right? But again, I keep asking, what are these international obligations? And if, as a country, if we can't decide what our immigration policy should look like,
well, agreed. But here's what I pointed out on an earlier show. So look at the categories and the brackets of people in work permits, right? So if a person come here hypothetically and they're working as a lawyer in one of the law firms that deals with financial service industry, right? Their salary bracket is at a point where they have the capability to purchase property. And having the ability to purchase property proves that you've made an investment in the Cayman Islands, and therefore you've just gathered a large amount of points on the PR system, which doesn't say, because you're on a work permit, you can't apply for PR, which means they can also they can go right ahead and lawfully apply for PR, purchase land, go walk some dogs and volunteer at the shelter, or do whatever it is they do in order to get points to make them eligible to be considered. So those are the flaws in the system that we need to close off. Those are the loopholes that we need to tighten up. And the minute that we mentioned that we need to tighten up and reform it, you had every lawyer in Grand Cayman writing saying it's a bad idea and it's unconstitutional. But when we see the signatures on that letter, those are the lawyers that we need to get rid of. They're the ones that we need to get off our island because they're trying to impact us with their cultural influences from where they're from. Because they couldn't all live. They couldn't live the life that they're living in Cayman in their own country. They can't. Because if they could have, they wouldn't be here. And those are the facts. And nobody don't want to have that conversation because, oh, well, I'm friends with someone who works in that arena. I don't really care. You understand? The only people that are objecting to anything to secure Caymanian cultural and morals and historical background are the ones who come here and we've allowed to be Caymanians, and now they want to change us. And that's not going to happen. And we got to stop that from happening. But anyway, I think I've said enough for the day on both shows.
Thank you.
You enjoy.
You too. And a listener says, I completely agree with this caller 100%. All right, thanks very much, man. Let's take this other call. Welcome, good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Sterling.
Hey, good afternoon, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good so far. Kind of tired.
Just kind of tired?
Yeah, doing some work on a car in the backyard. So.
Wow, sounds like you need some help, man. All right.
Yeah, well, I just hope that they don't try to stop me from doing that help. Look here, I would like to know what your opinion is on tyranny in Cayman.
On tyranny in Cayman? What's my opinion?
Yeah.
Tell me what you mean.
Well, police force in general, when you hear about how the police act in Cayman, I don't know if you ever heard any negative news about them, but
I'll share with you maybe in starting to respond to what you said, and of course, I invite you to share as you feel comfortable. I was sometime in the distant past in a conversation with a number of individuals, including attorneys, and they were identifying particular jurisdictions, including Cayman, and questioning whether we are becoming a police state. And as they discussed, they weren't only talking about the uniform conscripted police within the government service, the private security, the positioning of CCT and similar sort of things, but also legislation and the potential impact on people's ability to move about their own country. And one in particular gave reference to a growing trend within the US, but also in the UK, from the perspective of how police are being trained and resourced. And I want to say at that conversation, but I also know at subsequent ones, the phrase urban commando was being utilized. And one individual said, well, if you're before the courts, you see the increase in violence and the type of crimes, and so the policing effort needs to be also upskilled. One shared of other jurisdictions where there's greater resource in prevention and detection, and ensure that when something comes before the courts, there's a very clear, convincing message that this wouldn't be tolerated, and that is underscored by my words, the cultural ethos of that society when it comes to behavior. So I wonder, in these years since, I wonder if in our country we've lost sight of what is it that makes us a safe, secure, stable society, that social harmony that perhaps we desire but unwilling to ensure exists.
Well, as I listen to what you're saying, that I want to know, right, if that would apply to everybody in general, because here what happened, right? Because I have what I would consider PTSD, but I don't even consider it because I don't even understand what fear is right now. Right? I've been keeping it on a low, like very, very low. That people don't still believe that I have been harassed by police with excessive force for no reason, and they still don't understand why would they do that. Now, by me living in a community like West Bay, you know how the image of West Bayers get already when it comes into us boys, especially the younger folks that are participated in certain activities. But when you have police officers that was just out of the blue, randomly just stop and interrogate you for no reason whatsoever, no explanation. They don't have no suspicion, and they would put a gun to your head like you are a criminal. No, I don't know if it has happened to people before. I don't know if it's happening to people on random occasions, but I had been involved in my latest one, where the police task force unit, the fire rescue unit, whatever they want to call those people, right? Task force. They came and stopped me on the side of the road. This was during the COVID, when we had our little curfews, and stopped me on the side of the road for no reason and put a gun to my head like I was going to hurt them or harm them in any way. And began to search me with no suspicion whatsoever. And it's in our neighborhood, and at like around 8:30 in the night, why am I getting harassed like this?
Now, did you make a formal report to anyone?
Yeah, but here how the report went. You can call 911 as a random number that you could just remember off the top of your head. You don't have to remember 949 or 966, whatever numbers they want to put in. I called 911. They said, well, is this really a report that you want to make, emergency? I was like, yes. Well, you can call this number. You know what? I caught a bus, go to the police station, and the way how I was addressed in the police station with the frustration that I had, a Jamaican police officer was at the front desk that I was making my complaint to, and while I was giving him my information, the way how he responded to me, I got super upset. Like it was beyond my tolerance of respect for anybody at that point. So I carried on because I had responded to him. My occupation is self-employed. Now, when I said self-employed, his response to me was self-employed, my wrath. I'm self-employed. How would you respond to that? After you've been harassed by the task force, like 3 other car units came in, like about 4 other people came in involved in it with one Caymanian. And when I saw the one Caymanian, they cannot bother argue with me now. So I'm like, what is this?
Do you think it's too late now to maybe, with the police complaints or the ombudsman or, even the commissioner, it was worth revisiting and maybe having that conversation? It was some time back, but perhaps, we can look at it in hindsight and make corrective measures, We do have a break. We have another caller as well. You want to continue the discussion later?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to state that out, I just wanted your opinion on what do you consider as tyranny, because I call it tyranny, potato, tyranny.
Okay. No. I just want to make sure Well, there is much to be said that those of us in authority, whether we're the parent or the school principal or the police officer, or even the pastor, that we exercise, proper judgment and discretion and respect, especially, when we have that position of authority. All right, let us take this break and we'll chat more. All right. Stay tuned. Join us after the break.
Here at Savannah Pharmacy, our pharmacists do a lot more than just count out your pills and fill prescriptions. They undergo extensive education in the study of how the human body uses and responds to medicine. They have also built up years of experience in real-life counseling on how to take medication safely. Our pharmacists are on the front lines in keeping our society healthy. Don't risk it or hesitate. Contact us or schedule a consultation with one of our pharmacists today. At Savannah Pharmacy, we care about your health.
They say variety is the spice of life, and that's why at Subway we are introducing the new boneless hot sub. Say what? The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. eat fresh.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Dwayne Porter will be taking appointments from May 5th through 12th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.porterkiman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That is 946-9020.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Cayman, you ready? Cayman Carnival Batabano presents the Friday Night Vet Ultimate Blue, featuring soca sensation Skinny Fabulous. Along with DJ Eternal Vibe, MC Giselle, the Wassy One, Execution Sound, and more. Get ready to jump like you never jump, wave like you never wave, and whine like you never whine. Friday, May 5th, starting at 8 p.m. Seafarers Way, downtown Georgetown. Get your tickets now for the Friday Night Fete from Le Classique in the Strand. Save big with 2-for-1 tickets on sale for $40 until April 30th. Celebrate with us at OTD Blue. Friday, May 5th, 8 p.m. Seafarers Way, downtown Georgetown. Tickets for OTD Blue are available from the Classique Anniversary Special. 2-for-1 tickets for $40 until April 30th. Sponsored by Ministry of Tourism, Department of Tourism, Cayman Airways, JN Money, Radio Cayman, Caymanian Times, Event Pro, and Pepsi.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands. The ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom. The land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. As we look at it, we invite you to share with us. 949-8037, 949-6990. You can also use the toll-free line at 1-800-534-8255. And then, of course, WhatsApp. You can do all the WhatsApp stuff you want. We'll get ready to go to the phones, but that number is 925-3261. And take your calls. We'll certainly want to engage and provide a platform as best as possible to ensure that we have this ongoing dialogue. Hey, welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling. How are you?
Excellent. How are you today?
I am fine, thank you. I didn't get to listen to the topic today, but I may divert you a little. I'm calling in respect to the future of Cayman, where the education system is of concern.
Well, if we can talk about education, that's important,
yeah? Yeah, because it's the future, and our children are our future, right?
Exactly.
Right. See, it is Christian Hunter High School. I think there need to be a revamp there. When matters arise and you ask for parent-teachers conference with the school, they can come up with it, and they target special children. Mostly Caymanian, everybody knows, Caymanian children are very polite. They will speak their mind if you trouble them. And until you push them, they will be rude to you. And that is something from history. Caymanian children just don't get up and trouble people. But the top-heavy, dominant culture that is there. I went to school in Jamaica. My mom is Jamaican, I'm proud of that. But the whitewashed Jamaican that we're recruiting for future children, they're not reputable to teach in our school. They're biased. They only want their children, their friend children, who they have up in Ministry of Education. It's a friend recruiting thing, you know. And then they start on the Caymanian children that they see have bright future. Those who will speak up and said, Miss, do not talk to me like that, I don't appreciate it, they feel that it is rude. However, if it is the other color, they would have accepted that because that child is well taught. I am frustrated to see the type of teachers that we're putting over our children. It's just last week I got an email to say there is a dispute between my son and another student. Long standing. My son was out of school for 2 years on medical. And what happened? The other boy with his entourage went to fight my son. My son didn't want to fight. The security said he didn't answer him. But yet the whole story was twisted. The security agreed that the other boy had other entourage towards my son, and they restrained them. Now, the both boys are supposed to be out on early study leave, but the one who started the fight is in school presently. And what I noticed with the teachers, if there is an instigator, they don't care to resolve the matter. But if you're a defender, you shouldn't speak. And my grandfather, the late Cecil Walter, never drawn a seat for these people that we invite to our table to partake with what they deal. And as they say, they're not here to change mind, they're here to change check. That is something that we need to nip. Because if we do not be careful who we put over our children, we're going to have the replica of students in 10 years' time. I remember when the Honorable Bernie Bush spoke about gangs in school in the 90s, they denied it. I see, what if we had just stepped back and try with our children? Half of them, most of the Caymanian children that you see gone astray, and I'll say they don't come from problematic homes, some of them, but it's our teachers deal with them, speak to them, tell them about their own personal life, and they will lash back. And everything is swept under the carpet. I have tons of emails. My husband wrote asking for parents. Until today's date, nobody. Mr. Michael Obi, I think, at Ministry of Education, all of them drawing away, right? They come with all sorts of things. Drugs, everything about children doing drugs at school, etc., etc. I made sure, as I heard the very day, I didn't wait a week, I didn't wait the next day. I took my son because I know my children. I know children were exposed. Everything came back negative. And until today's date, my son was out of school for 2 years on medical leave, right? And they fight. And before Caymanian, there are Caymanian teachers who exit the system, gone into private, and they are expatriates who love our country, who became true Caymanians through citizenship, said to me, your son is getting a fight and watch out. That was from he was in year 7. I said, why would you come? They told me he did a cognitive test and he surpassed even teachers' children. There are teachers' children who even pick on him. And when he defended himself, a teacher, look at him, right? I said to him, careful what you do with my son, because I will allow you, I can make you pass or not pass. Now, if it was an average parent, they couldn't have access to my child. If you have a problem with 2 students fighting, you get the 2 students and the parents together. What right you have to go to my child on the school compound without a parent being in front or a lawyer? Who are you? Because you're a teacher and you have the power? That is not how it works. And I'm telling you, if government don't change this friend business that they're doing, whether it is in regular government or in the school system, Caymanians are already fighting, to get a spot. But little did Caymanian know, we gave them invitation and they came and they feast, and know that they plant their little rules, they're showing their colors. First of all, teachers' children shouldn't go to the same school, because there's no way I can work on Mr. Foster and open a bakery without telling him or asking him. It's conflict of interest. Teachers' students, they're getting a fat salary comparing to where they're coming from, right? Let them go to private. Let them go to another school. Let other teachers let other teachers look after their children and can see the true colors. When they're fighting in schools, they hide it because it's friend with friends and they can't correct each other. And I really don't care, because I was taught to speak the truth. My late father, who passed a Walton, never teach me not to speak up for my right. He teach me to speak up for my right. And if government do not cramp this, I'm sorry for the future for Cayman. Because as they already say, I remember one day, a teacher's phone went off and it came onto my phone. And I answered and nothing could be said. Luckily, that teacher was speaking positive towards Cayman. He said he was, I think it was his first time here, and he said what they're doing. They were in their teachers, what you would call it, lunch, having lunch. And he says sorry for the Caymanians because the Caymanians that leave to study, they're coming back. The paper Caymanians, they better watch out for them because what is implanted in them in the educational system is sorry. And I hung up and I called him back. I said, luckily, you were speaking good about my country. And be careful. Make sure when you're talking in your spare time, you look at your phone because you dial me and I called and I answered and I screamed and you wouldn't pick up. And I listened to everything for about 10 minutes before I disconnect. And I really don't care. I am who I am, right? And people don't like me because I am very forward. I am an introvert, but until you push me, you won't see me. And Clifton Hunter, when they realized that they were wrong, they easily switched. All of a sudden, an acting principal was put into place. Until now, the acting principal is in place now sometime, and she can't become principal as yet. And if you act past 6 months in the law, you're supposed to be sworn in, right? And she's still there. So I'm watching what's going to be done, and I'm going to tell you, if government don't do what they have to do, I personally will get laws involved. I will get a lawyer involved because Christian Hunter is dirty. It is dirty. And the inspectorate, even my son had an interview with the inspector from UK, and they spoke about his intelligence. And they fight him. I knew they fighting him because they didn't want him to have a boy, which I really don't care. We came from a family that is well educated, and we're used to food. We don't fight. So if you want it and you want the limelight, go ahead with it. But don't undermine other people's children because you want yours to come forward. And I went to school in Jamaica, and the other day I was in a lecture with a professor, and she turned to me. She said, you know what hurt me until today's date? I knew I passed my common entrance, but because I was brighter than my principal daughter, I didn't pass. But today I'm still a teacher. And in Jamaica, they have a nasty way. Unless they like you, they let you go through. If they don't like you, they don't make you go through. And after the whitewash, and when I mean whitewash, probably you don't understand me. In Jamaica, they have a thing that they take the bottom of the tree with something looking like peach. But when it rained, the color of the tree come back. The color of them is showing now. And government better watch themselves. And this is what I have to say. If we do not look and bring back diversity like in the 90s where you have Turk and Caicos, Trinidadian, Bajan, Belize, all over teachers who can come to a fair, what would you say, cultural disbursement and still have one, anywhere you have one dominant culture, the overrule. And everywhere they go, some of them, you have good Jamaicans, but you have the few that dig hole in the barrel and you're sitting down there believing that they're doing good. No. And that is my 2 cents today. Many children gone through that system and end up in system because of how they create it. They pick who they want to be, the head boy, who they want to be head girl, who they want to be prefect. They're antics. It's no more about who the children see as an example among themselves. And even if the children recommend them, they go back and they detach the letter of the head that they vote blindly and put A, B, and C on it. And the teachers choose who they want because they know what is going on within the administration circle. And these are my own people telling me what they're doing inside there because they are set up themselves. I even hear teachers saying that they regret that this lecture is gone because it is worse. So that is to tell you there's something wrong with that administration.
Well, I'm sorry that you personally and your son has experienced what you shared, but I commend you for your courage. 4 people, just 4, I mean, it's not definitive, have weighed in to express similarly, but also have asked the question to what extent the wider community is aware of what's happening in their education, especially within our government schools. And a question has been asked, well, 2 parts. Why is this happening and what do we do about it?
It's happening because it's friend recruiting friends. That's one. And 2, because you recruit your friend, you can reprimand your friend.
Mm-hmm.
And 3, if you see a light in me and you don't want it to shut, and as they often say, or entitled. If I'm not entitled in my mother's land or my father's house, should I be entitled in America? I think everybody has their entitlement to their home.
Mm-hmm.
So if you feel that way, don't sit and eat with us. But if you so sure that I'm too entitled, go back to your home, because if it was much better, you wouldn't come among me. You would need to leave. You know, and it is sad, and I know I'm going to get the turn out, but it is fact. When I was going to school in Jamaica, and my mom had purchased my books and shared with the less fortunate teachers, used to come and try to close my book and say, "Do not share with her." And I'm like, "Miss, you didn't purchase my book. You can't tell me who to share it." I used to have to fix them diplomatically in school. They have some dirty ways, and it is sad. It is sad that we are experiencing this with the younger generation. And if government don't do something and start saying, if you have 2 Jake and 2 beige and you need 2 Trini, you get an equal share. It is too top heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And HR teaches you that. The study of HR and cases teach you that you cannot have a dominant culture because they're going to suppress your own culture.
Well, you are, very courageous for sharing. It's sad that we have, so many glaring things in our society that we ignore to our detriment. But thank you. Hopefully we'll get a chance to chat again.
Yes, sir.
All
Have
right.
a good day.
You too. Thank you. And all the best to you. All right. Let's pause. Let what I call a shared, perhaps, allow us to prayerfully meditate, and then when we come back, let's join the other callers.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Can you imagine your home completely organized? At Brand Source Custom Closets, we can. We specialize in designing and building custom closets and storage units for any room in your home, including the garage. With tailored designs and custom LED lighting solutions to fit your lifestyle and budget. Our Custom Closets expert is committed to enhancing the value of your home with a solution that is uniquely yours. Visit our showroom or call 623-6774 to schedule a no-obligation appointment with our design expert. Brand Source Custom Closets, 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
You have the power to help keep your child healthy. Making sure that your child sees a public health nurse for wellness checks and recommended vaccines is one of the best things you can do to protect your child and community from serious diseases that are easily spread. Each vaccine counts. Call the Public Health Department today on 244-2648 to schedule your appointment. This message is brought to you by the Public Health Department in conjunction with the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Ensuring your walls, ceilings, and floors are properly sealed against air leaks is an important step in lowering your monthly energy bills. Even small gaps around windows, under doors, or around lighting and plumbing fixtures can add up to as much air loss as having an open window.
The do-it-yourself energy audits on energy.gov.ky make it easy to find ways to save energy and money in your home or business.
Complete an energy audit of your home or business before 31st of May 2023 to be entered into a prize giveaway. Prizes include a $5,000 gift certificate to Home Gas and gift certificates to Cooling Pros, Foam Pros, Cosylest, and Foster's.
To learn more, visit energy.gov.ky today and follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram.
Wednesday, April 26th is World Intellectual Property Day. It's a time to celebrate our creative minds, from musicians, songwriters, and authors to inventors, designers, painters, and so much more. Did you know that their creations, just like yours, can be protected by a patent, trademark, or copyright? Find out how to register and protect your intellectual property today. Visit the Cayman Islands Intellectual Property Office website at ciipo.ky for more information. That's ciipo.ky. It's your innovation, your creation, and your intellectual property. Protect it today.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling. 2 calls on the line and the news at 2. So let's start. Hey, welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for sharing.
Hi, Sterling. How you doing?
Excellent. How are you?
Good. I'm glad I later called in.
She did share much. Yes, yes.
Because I am going through the same thing she's going through, and I've been going through it for almost 3 years with both of my sons, to the point I removed one of my children from Clifton Hunter. So nobody don't have to worry whether what that woman is saying is so, because it is so. Because I am living it. My children have lived it. I have watched my son get assaulted in this country via media, where it was not stopped, where information was divulged out of that school that had nothing to do with anybody. It was misconstrued. It was then reported. His name was published. Then there was some other information that went out that they claim was true, and there was no truth to it. And then they went after his school environment. And as subsequent to that, my youngest son picked it up, and I have fought for 2 years. 2 years to get proper meals because he has an eating disorder. 2 years to deal with his SEN needs because he's autistic. And whether this is a systemic issue with the fact that we can't handle SEN needs, or there's a systemic issue of discrimination, harassment against children, I don't know. And I'm not making accusations. I'm saying what has happened to me and my children. And these things take an emotional toll. And that lady is not going to get on the radio to talk about something as important as this and as hurtful as it is to her if it weren't true. Because she's the mother talking now. It's not hearsay anymore. But there are fundamental issues going on. And she's right. She's absolutely right. I have written books. And you should know that I write and I document everything. And it is a shame what has happened. Matter of fact, there has been breaking of law through that divulging of information that went out of there. That is against the law. It's against the education law for anybody to print anything about any child within the educational institution that are armed under the government. It's a prohibited offense. Matter of fact, it's a penal code offense, and it attracts a fine of $5,000. For you to publish the name or any information about a child, about a volunteer, about workers, about anybody in the school. So you see, when we sit down and we engage in these media houses that engage in torment, and then I listened to the Premier today. I listened to the Honorable Premier. And one of the things that he spoke about is to look at future-proofing. And by future-proofing, you're trying to ensure resilience and that the outcome of the country is going to remain positive, that we don't fail. And then we spoke about ensuring the access to proper health care and ensuring access to children to have a voice and those with special education needs. But you see, that's all well and good. But if you're not going to stop the bully, if you're not going to stop the bullies and those who entertain the bullies and say enough is enough, how does that become a headline news? And how does a child become a headline news and then you don't take the child down, you don't take his picture down? How does that become a headline news and then the child is then acknowledged by the government? So what's going on? We have a dumb government? Is that it? They don't know what they're doing when they acknowledge children who have done well. You see, we have allowed this, and there are many Caymanians amongst us who spend their day looking for that news, and then they entertain it, and you watch the comments, from people who don't know no better, except this is some good hearsay, and this is some good stuff, and I need a good stuff this morning so that I can enjoy the rest of my day. But that's not how it works. Our children do not go to school to be bullied. They don't go. My child was beaten on the bus 5 weeks ago by the big 15-year-old child. Him and another child were beaten who are 12 years old. One was dropped off at the bus, bloodied face. The other one was dropped off with bruising to their home by the bus, which did not stop the assault, which did not report the assault, which to this day has not issued one statement of the assault. And I have addressed the bus owner, and he hasn't had the audacity to even answer me. But you see, this goes on in this country until people speak up. And no, I'm not afraid, because there's nothing to be afraid of. But I had to seek police intervention. But you see, how could that continue? How could we have children on a bus who get beaten and get dropped off to their homes as if this is part of the ride home? And where is the duty of care? And I keep asking this, I keep calling about this. We're down here paving roads. I'm sorry, putting white lines on roads to do what? Like we got middle of Borden Town, it's overtaking lanes all the way through Borden Town, and they're tearing through Borden Town. But you see, that's not going to stop. That's not going to stop until somebody's life ends. And then we're going to go, oh my gosh, another road death. Oh wow, blah, 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 more blah. We don't focus on real. We're good for talk.
Yeah.
But talk goes a certain way. But you see, today's judicial review comes into some of these incidents. They're plenty going to sit back and be like, I should have done something.
Right. I'm going to respectfully ask you, I want to hear you and other callers, and your topic is very, very, let's just take this news break, all right? Turn us off, though, please.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news. Brought to you by Tropical Plaza on Smith Road.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Wanted person Gail Ross was arrested yesterday, Tuesday, April 25th, in the Duxie's Lane area of West Bay. She is currently in custody pending further investigation. In international news, investors have continued to dump shares of First Republic amid fears the U.S. bank could be the next to collapse. The sell-off sent shares down more than 20% in morning trade on Wednesday. That came after the price sank to a record low a day earlier, plunging nearly 50% after the firm said it had lost $100 billion in deposits in March. First Republic has been under pressure since a series of bank failures in the U.S. last month sparked fears of a wider crisis. Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky says he has had a long and meaningful phone call with China's Xi Jinping, their first contact since Russia's war began. He said on Twitter he believed the call, along with the appointment of an ambassador to Beijing, would give a powerful impetus to the development of our bilateral relations. China confirmed the call, adding that it always stood on the side of peace. Unlike the West, Beijing has sought to appear neutral on the Russian invasion, but it has never hidden its close ties to Moscow or condemned the invasion, and last month President Xi paid a 2-day state visit to Russia. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news. Brought to you by Tropical Plaza on Smith Road.
Man, this traffic pile up at Smith Road. I'm so tired of this every day. Wait, what's that smell? That smell good.
Ultra Lounge Jerk Stand, Tropical Plaza on Smith Road. Smells so good. Tastes so much better. Jerk menu available from 3 p.m. Pork, chicken, fried fish, steamed fish, conch soup, and so much more. You're stuck in traffic? You may as well make dinner tonight. Ultra delicious. The family will love you for it. Ultra Lounge Jerk Stand, Tropical Plaza on Smith Road. Smells so good. Tastes so much better. And Ultra Lounge is pleased to serve breakfast from 7 a.m. and lunch at 10 a.m.
Things come up. That's life. But it doesn't mean I can't show up. From a runny nose, stubbed toes, to earache woes, headaches, backaches, and tummy aches. When things come up, Best Health Pharmacy over-the-counter solutions get you back in the game. Best Health Pharmacy, located at Crown Square Plaza on Eastern Avenue, across from Edie's Decor. Best Health Pharmacy, your health, your convenience is their priority. Best Health Pharmacy also offers free prescription delivery anywhere in Georgetown and West Bay. Call 949-1301 or WhatsApp your prescription to 924-5358.
Row Variety, centrally located in Tropical Plaza on Smith Road, carrying a wide range of household items, bathroom accessories, towels, clocks, handbags, clothes, shoes, jewelry, and more, and more, and more. You can buy from the big box retailers or support local. The better deals come from shopping local. Row Variety Store, Tropical Plaza, Smith Road. Telephone 924-9553.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255. Let your voice be heard. And now, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon and welcome, and thanks for calling. And it is, and certainly, challenging conversation, but important. Let's go back to the phones. Welcome.
Hi, Dwayne. I'm still here.
Yeah, thank you for that, and thank you for allowing us to sort of take a quick interjection for the news. All right. There are other calls on, but please.
They operate through sponsorship too, so be respectful of that.
Yeah, no, thank you for understanding, all right.
I just want to say that people have to take a step back in this country and be reasonable and to understand that real problems exist. And this isn't about calling out and trying to meme anybody and trying to show anything up. This is trying to say there's justice that's required. There is some stand-up that is required. There is something that needs to be heard, that needs to be dealt with, and sweeping it under the rug is not going to work. My son went after for his head boy ship too. So she not telling you no story when you hear them stories, because the exact thing happened to mine. Matter of fact, I had someone call and tell me they were going to buy shirts and put my son in shirts other than the ones he wore. So I know how far they go. And it is a Caymanian Jamaican issue. And I'm going to call it for what it is. Because the Caymanian children are targeted. And you can see it from when you hear the accent. You can see when the appointments go up. And you can see what's going on. And I am not happy. And it's sad. It's sad really for me, because when I grew up and when you and I went to high school, we had a mirage across our school compound at Cayman Islands High School. We had every nationality in that school teaching us. We weren't treated. There were some treatments in that school that could have done better. But I don't remember seeing the level of animosity, and I'm going to call it that, towards children. You see, children are children, Not one child wakes up in the morning and decide, today, I can just be bad because I don't have nothing else to do. Either they're carrying something with them, they're frustrated, they can't manage whatever's going on at home, they can't manage what's going on at school, they're taking it in their own hands, they don't have somebody they're going to stand with them, they know that if they go and say something, it's not going to be dealt with. The list goes on. And it's unfair. And it's unfair for it to get out into the public domain. A child's business has no business of anybody else except himself, his parent, and the school. I called you about this in February. When they did that dress down campaign crap and we allowed children who had good behavior to participate. That is illegal. It says it against in the education law. It's a form of degradation. It's also a breaking in your information access. The part about all of this, please, that all fundamental rights out of the UK are human rights. It is a level of privacy, a level of right to home, a level of right to correspondence, a level of right to what happens behind the doors of your home. We're not talking about covering up abuse. We're talking about privacy. And we're talking about the fundamental right that nobody has access to that. That's why they say your correspondence, even to that, is protected. You're not even supposed to have anybody tapping your phone unless they got reasonable cause and calls coming through the courts or whatever. You see, and yet we're still doing it. Yet we have this data protection law that provides the media houses with our one feeble right, I call it, that says you have a right to report as a journalist what you, journalist, believes is true. That cannot be how we're going to manage children affairs in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are little people. They're minors who are still subject to the rights of their parent or their guardian.
Mm-hmm.
Even children who are state care, do you realize that all the children in state care run by these agencies that are developed by boards underneath the law, sort of the Keys Foundation? Those children are state children. Keys Foundation is an emanation of the state. The protection that we afforded to them should be the same thing. We look at when they report a missing child and the comment. Why do we allow that kind of commentary on children?
Mm-hmm.
And you all know why the children behave they behave.
Yeah.
And we wonder why a parent like myself and another parent are calling. You're going to get more calls.
Yeah.
I hope you get so inundated with calls that you call a talk show just on this.
I've received many of these off air. Understandably, the reticence to come publicly, but we do have a number of other callers who've joined.
Appreciate that.
All right. Thanks again, and hopefully we hear from you publicly some more. All right. We'll go to the phones. Thank you for holding. Thanks for sharing. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Sterling. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. How are you?
I'm good. You can hear me okay?
Definitely can. Trust you can do the same.
Okay. Yeah, finally we can hear each other good. Anyways, this is Carrie from the BRAC, and your last caller made so much sense. And, of course, there's a lot of situations quite similar to that taking place up here in the BRAC as well. And parents have come to me with these same situations involving their children, including sexually being harassed by older students. The list goes on, Sterling. And, bullying and the bruising and, the abuse by other kids in the schools as well. And parents, some parents just being very mean and abusive to other children because their parents have come to them and said, John Brown was nasty to me. And then one parent going to say, your kid is being very rude and, abusive and even sexually explicit to my daughter, my young daughter, my 9-year-old, and this person is 12. And the school tends to sweep these things under the rug. And they're creating this incredible, huge gorilla in the room, Sterling, that we're not going to be able to deal with it if they don't address it, nip it in the bud, and get rid of it. It appears as if in some of the educational institutions, the public educational institutions, that we have principals that are not capable of handling these sort of challenges, if you understand where I'm coming from,
Mm-hmm.
and working them out and dealing with them. And, they don't have that additional training. Is there even anyone in any of our school institutions that have that kind of training that can solve these conflicts, conflict resolutions? It seems like it's not. It's just a matter of, okay, we're just going to keep quiet about it. Hopefully no more of it is going to be brought up. You're not going to hear another parent coming and addressing it, or a student or whatever, and it never goes away. And they keep repeating the same cycle of ignoring it, hoping it goes away or fixes itself. We need, in our educational institutions of the Cayman Islands, especially our public systems, and especially the Lehman Scott High School in Cayman Brac, please, I'm calling it out today, it needs to be addressed. And the powers that be that are overseeing that school clearly has no kind of conflict resolution training to address these situations, so the parents can at least feel good every morning that their kid get on the bus to go to school, or they drop them off at school, that they're putting them in caring hands. Because they're not going in caring hands when they're constantly coming home and complaining about the abuse they have to go through on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Some children are so mentally disturbed about it. Parents are flying them to Grand to do to see a medical professional, to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very sad.
That's got. They have to get to these extremes, Sterling, to deal with situations that should be able to be handled within the school environment. If we have, hello?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm hearing all kind of.
We're likewise hearing some noises. Yes.
You keep quiet in that studio and let me talk.
But you just said hello, so I need to acknowledge that we're hearing you and listening.
Yeah, I'm just messaging you.
I know you must be on, enjoying the cool breeze in the Brack.
Oh yeah, it's a hot day, but it's still a good day. Any day in the Brack is a good day. That's the good thing about living here. But we do have our challenges here. We do have a lot of parents that's been so annoyed and so, on edge and afraid to speak up as well. They come to my home, they call me, they pull me over the side of the road or in the grocery store, and they whisper things to me about what's taking place, and they're afraid to address it with the officials that they need to address it with, because they tend to put a dogland flag over their head and call them problem parent, and that's unfair. How are you saying that you're managing a very an institution, educating our children, our young children? These aren't even college students yet. Some of our children are afraid to even go to ground to do sixth form because the abuse of it alone up here that they had to go through, no one to deal with it, just pushed to the side, to the wayside. We can't continue that way, Sterling. It cannot continue like that. And if we do not have the proper personnel to address these situations and clean up the messes in our schools that's constantly being covered over with all this pompous and fair, and it's not so. We need to stop that before the gorilla explodes in the room because it can't get any bigger. How are we saying that we are actually being the best educators and the best representation of an educational institution that's a publicly owned one by the people of this country, and their children are afraid to go to school? Something's wrong, Sterling.
So, indeed. Well, thanks for sharing that, okay? All right. I think
Thank
we can
you.
have a good afternoon and talk to you soon. All right. Take one more call. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks, and you?
Oh, I am wonderful. Very, very thankful indeed.
That's good. Okay, wonderful and blessed.
Amen.
Mr. Brother George would say. I want to sentiment those two or three callers that called in about the situation with the education department. It's a situation needs not just bullying in the children. They also got bullying amongst each other with it, and there's a lot of that going on. And one want to be preference over the next one, and this one because they come from this jurisdiction. They're better off than the next one. Whatever we need to nip it in the bud. Government needs. I hope they're listening. I'm not taking this from that subject, but I want to shift a little bit.
Of course.
We have a situation where, regarding the environment, the marine law, where the DOE was supposed to be putting a law in place where they were putting a moratorium, which was passed by the Legislative Assembly in full, anonymously, where they were going to put a moratorium on these. No more these licenses were going to be given out for these boats.
This is the Wildlife Interaction Zone license.
Every day now we see a new business still out. We're calling on the government. We want to know where is the law that they're supposed to be effective. They said the 1st of March. This is almost the 1st of May. So 2 months later, and we still got all these foreign businesses coming in here with boats. Something needs to be done about it because we're going to get a riot somewhere down the line, and we don't want that. That's not what Cayman is for. But they're pushing us just like they did the rest of the other countries or the other islands, and Cayman is getting enough of it. We need to look into that. Number 3, I had called you a few weeks ago regarding the status on the pensioners for the members of Parliament. How many? Remember, you were supposed to check in to see how many terms do they have to serve in order for them to be pensionable. I didn't hear the report back, and maybe you did, and I missed it or whatever. But after you, please, I know it's getting kind of late now, but if you could update us on that, we'd be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too. And let's pause, take the final break. When we come back, we'll share some messages from our listeners. Stay tuned.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist. Or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointments.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Capella Music Festival is back, Saturday, April 29th at the Festival Green at Camana Bay, featuring a jam-packed lineup of local performers and international stars. UB40, Coffee, Kez the Band, and Leanne Rhymes. Purchase your tickets now at CapellaMusicFestival.com. Brought to you by Camana Bay, Cayman Airways, Remax, Sandbar, Massive Equipment Rental, the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Attention all runners and walkers. It's time to lace up your shoes and join us for our annual Deputy Governor's 5K Challenge Run Walk event. Whether you are a seasoned runner or just looking for a fun way to get some exercise, this event is for you. Join us on April 30th in Grand Cayman. Do something good for your body and have some fun while supporting our local community. Proceeds benefit Loud Silent Voices, the Cayman Islands Red Cross, and the United Against Bullying Foundation. The DG's 5K could not happen without support from our platinum sponsor, Appleby, and gold sponsors, Butterfield, Credit Union, DART, Davenport Development, EY, and our halfway point sponsor, Cynical. $25 for adults and $10 for kids 17 and under. Register at www.racecaribbean.net. Don't miss out on this opportunity to have fun, get fit, and support our community. See you at the start line.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And with a few moments remaining in the program, let me share a few messages from our listeners in relation to the calls talking about the issues within our schools. One caller in reference to one listener in reference to a caller said, that this is happening in all the schools, not just in one particular government school, but all the government schools and all the private schools. We got a message from a few others, a similar message. It's questioning whether the people who come out to work, especially for government and in particular in the schools, are they just coming for the paycheck. And I think that was alluded to very directly by the initial caller. This first message came in with share this last. There's an excellent comments by the previous caller, the lady that called in about the situation in the public schools. The truth must be told for there to be a positive change in the schools and society. Cultural overload is an issue. We must now demand this issue be addressed by the people we elect to office. There is no hate for anyone, but we must address the issues that matter to Caymanians most without apology. We slowly wake up and find their voices. We will demand listening ears and hands of action. Wake up, Caymanians. And now the comments in relation to our children and the issues that they face in school, from sexual harassment to bullying to, as alleged publicly, to even being overlooked or sometimes denied what may have been an appointment, an election, or some merit. Now, if these issues in our society are such that we are promoting or somehow celebrating now, what are the implications of that behavior later on? Will it self-correct or will it become entrenched? If we, as the initial lady who called shared, turn a blind eye to certain things because we don't have a voice, we don't have sufficient courage, or we don't see the need for appropriate action to address something. Phrases like nip it in the bud are always uttered, but to what extent have we been ignoring this, that it's no longer something that can be nipped in the bud? There has to be maybe a systemic change, because there is something that's entrenched and has created the system in which we now find ourselves. If it is that we're looking to be inclusive, we're looking to nurture and to love, it doesn't matter the nationality of the child, the age or the school, the economic status of the family, the ethnicity. Now, as one of the callers shared, if in Caymanian children are being consciously and deliberately marginalized, perhaps that is the one space in your own home, in your own country, where you should probably have a greater chance of support. Now, the scripture talks about, a prophet is not without honor save in his own country. Maybe somehow we misunderstand and misapply that. Perhaps it's similar to the notion that charity begins at home. The question is, what is the consequence of our actions as we face, the next generation? To what extent are we looking at not just educating and empowering, but we're equalizing and informing, we're encouraging and ensuring that the children of today feel connected to our society? Are we telling them that through certain egregious behaviors they can be rewarded with much success? Are we telling them that if they, stand up, speak up, and are prepared to do right, that somehow will be defeated by the hand of might? Most of us, I believe, subscribe to the right champion's might, but maybe it is that the golden rule is no longer done to us as you would have them done to you. It is, as I've repeatedly shared many times, he who has the gun or the goal seems to want to be the ones to make the rule. Now, as adults, and adults in position of authority, from the parent to the school teacher, from the coach to the police officer, from the person preaching from the pulpit, as well as that person at that time at the head of the queue allowing the line to pass. Do we act with humility and dignity? Do we have a sense of honesty and integrity? Is it within us that sense of being fair to all, and to be an example that can be with honor looked at and celebrated? We have to wonder. Well, join us tomorrow for more Talk Today, as we invite you to be a part of our ongoing discussion. And even though it's Wednesday, think about your plans, not just for the weekend, but a year from now. And not just a year from now, but 100 years from now. Whether you consciously believe that what you do now would impact, a century later, it probably does. Looking forward may be difficult. We can look back and see the consequences from the actions to the inactions of what we as people did or failed to do. Have a wonderful and enjoyable, safe, hopefully loving and conscious commitment to our community. Join us tomorrow, and we hopefully welcome you as you continue to be a productive and active and positive member of our society. Okay, my friends, that's it for today, and God's willing, we'll be a part of tomorrow.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she's away. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and she's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away, wonder this time where she's gone. Wonder if she's gonna stay. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and this house just ain't no home. Anytime she goes away, and I know